What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs podcast. Justin, Kenny, Mac, and myself coming to you guys live today. Going to break down the Myles Garrett trade request, what it means for the Browns in this team and for Myles going forward. Josh is acting in a strictly producer role this evening. He is still on new dad duty. He's got the little one at home. Mom, she still needs help doing all that stuff. So Josh has got to be able to go at a moment's notice. So he's in the background today. He's helping us out producing, got the voicemails going. Maybe he'll chime in with a little bit of voice thing, but we won't see Josh today, which luckily for you, he looks like a tired new dad. But we're happy to be back with you guys after the little baby vacation that the podcast took. Not happy to be coming to you guys and talking about what we're going to be talking about today. Didn't think we were going to be here after the last episode we did. But before we give you guys all of our thoughts on what we think it means for the Browns, remember, if you want to get thoughts and intros on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail on the drop-down menu. We've got quite a few voicemails to get to today. And if it's something you would be interested in doing, don't be afraid to do that. We like hearing from you guys. We like playing them on the show. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the new content that we're putting out. You can find us on any of the social media platforms. Just search at the Dawgs Podcast. You can find us on any of the platforms if you prefer to just listen, Apple, Spotify, and Google. And lastly, if you're looking for more Dawgs content, head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page, get access to the private Discord, play fantasy football once football season rolls back around. You got a couple of champs in here. Myself and Josh, 3 championships between the two of us this year. So it's a good time for everybody involved, and we are looking for ways to revamp the Patreon as we move into the offseason. We're going to be getting input from people who are already in there and people who maybe have been thinking about it, but they haven't seen, what's really the point. Well, we want to know what would make it the point for you guys. So we're going to be doing that as we move into the offseason, revamping that for you. And again, that's jointhedawgs.com if you want to become an official Dog Pack member. You can also become a YouTube member for just 99 cents a month. You get the cool Browns emojis in the chat, all that cool stuff. It helps support the show for under $1. So if that's something you're interested in, you can become a YouTube member for 99 cents. So obviously the big news is that Myles Garrett he came out and officially requested a trade. And it's just, how do you guys feel? Because I know what my initial thoughts were, how I felt, and then I know how I feel now 24 hours later as I've had time to digest it. So we'll just go to you, Justin, at first. What are you thinking?
Man, my initial reaction was I was devastated, man. Straight up. It hurt. It was like I told you guys, I felt like somebody dumped me. You know what I mean? And it's been a long time since I felt like that from a sports aspect. And then probably a couple hours later, I kind of was happy for him. I'm like, well, at least he gets an opportunity to maybe chase something. You know what I mean? The guy's done what he's done for us. It's not like he's been a scrub. The guy's, possibility could be a back-to-back defensive player of the year. Generational talent, franchise, a guy that you can put out there and say, hey, this is something we're very, very proud of as far as, what we're doing. So, it sucks, but, I think that's just like the fan in you. You like to see the guys that, you show up and pay to play and do well.
What about you?
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. I was almost like Blake texted me and say, bro, I don't want to hang around you no more. You know what I mean? And that's what it felt like to me. I texted Blake right away and I was like, hey man, what's going on here? I thought that Myles said that we were close and he goes to the Pro Bowl. And then all of a sudden he's like, I don't want to be here no more. So I'm super, super confused. Then when reality kind of came to me and I'm like, well, listen, at the end of the day, this guy's not happy with the way the situation's going. He's got 2 years. I think I put that in the Discord. He's got 2 years left on his contract. They don't have to trade him. And we were just speaking about this before. They can franchise him for 2 more years after that. So he's stuck with us for 4 years if they want to go that route. Right. But I just want the Browns to figure something out and get a winner. That's what I want. Because this is all about not winning. Period.
No, yes, I've went through like all the range of emotions in terms of I think actually as soon as the news broke, I messaged him from our ex account and was like, "Don't go, man. You're all we got." You know what I mean? I was like, because like you guys said, it's like I've been on the show this offseason talking about how I didn't want to trade Myles, but if somebody, knocked our socks off with an offer, you'd have to at least entertain it and all. But at the end of the day, he's still, a first ballot Hall of Famer who's you want to be in the brown and orange for his whole career. He's been so heavily invested into the Cleveland community by minority ownership of the Cavs. He's always at Cavs games. It's like, this is a guy you want to be on your team for his entire career. So I've gone through the entire range of emotions to denial. There was, I started thinking hope, like maybe they'll pull David Njoku and talk him into staying. And then there's the cynicism in me where I'm like, okay, what happened 2 weeks ago? You said, first, all in this offseason, he's essentially publicly backed the front office and the coaching staff. In turn, when Jimmy said, like, we have the guys in place, Myles was like, yeah, we have, as long as we have those guys, then this thing's going in the right direction. So he kind of gave like a public backing of the coach and the GM. And then he says that we're closer than a lot of people realize. And so it's like, okay, he must like what he's hearing from these guys. And then he goes down to the Pro Bowl. And it's like you said, did somebody get in his ear and all of a sudden he wants to leave? And it's just, so I'm so confused at the timeline of events. I've also seen reports that said the Browns aren't surprised. They knew about this. Right. And when they came out and said they weren't going to trade him last week, it made him mad. And that's why he's going public now. Right. And it's just like, I don't know what to make of it. And part of me, I'm a Browns fan before I'm anybody on the team, so I obviously I don't blame Myles if he wants to leave. And then at the same time, the skeptic part of my brain, or I guess you could call it the douchebag part of my brain, is we stuck by Myles when he hit some guy in the head with his helmet. We stuck by Myles when he rolled his Porsche going 100 miles per hour. We stuck through Myles through. We made him highest paid defensive player, I believe, when he signed his initial contract, or at least he was up there. Like, we've done a lot of things for Myles. And so I know it's not going the way he wanted it to go, but it's not like he's been, the perfect citizen since he's been here either. I'm not talking about like behavior problems, but I mean, he was known to be an incredibly fast driver, rolls his Porsche, Browns stick with him, assaults a guy on the field, Browns stick with him, have his back. So it's like, I felt like the relationship both ways, like he's been good to us, and I felt like we've been good to Myles too. Like we've treated him well. We've paid him well. We call him a Hall of Famer. Anytime he gets the loudest ovations by the crowd. So like that part of my brain too, then I'm like getting mad. I'm like, well, why is he, why? And then another part of me is, he says he wants to get traded to a contender, but he doesn't have a no trade clause. And we're not going to trade him to somebody who's going to give us back the 28th pick in the draft. So, you could tell him, listen, I'm going to trade you, but it's going to be to wherever we get the most return, and you don't have a say in that. And that might be Carolina, or Tennessee. And so if you're going to not compete for a championship for the next 2 or 3 years at that place, you might as well just stick it here, where by all accounts, I know there's holes in the roster, but I think we all believe that if the Browns get a competent quarterback this year, like they're at least going to be fighting for a playoff spot. You know what I mean? Like, and if they hit on some of these draft picks and they can add a couple, like there's no reason to believe that the Browns can't at least be a much more competent football team. There's no reason to believe they can't resemble the team that went to the playoff 2 years ago with 5 different quarterbacks, as opposed to the dumpster fire we just were, if they just address a few key issues. And we've been pounding the drum about drafting a quarterback at 2, but I don't think that quarterback we drafted 2 starts. I 100% think the Browns are still going to go get a veteran free agent bridge quarterback to start this year. I think if you put a healthy bridge quarterback on this team that doesn't turn the ball over and makes good decisions and can just distribute the ball to the wide receivers, that we can win football games. We saw games where Jameis didn't turn the ball over and we played well on the offensive side of the ball. So it's just, it came out of left field. There's so many different parts to it. I'm very confused where it came from. Is it some people are screaming like it's going to get ugly, but and I'm just like, did it really go that far? It went from a month ago he wants to finish his career in Cleveland to it's gone completely off the rails in that short amount of time where it's got the potential to get ugly. I don't know. I don't see that. We weren't supposed to go crazy talk about Myles until we played some voicemail. So I guess that's why don't we go ahead and play. We have 2 voicemails talking about the Myles situation. So we'll go ahead and play them. That way we can continue this conversation.
Hey, you guys. It's Brad Moneymaker. What's up, guys? What's up, Browns fans, if there's any left at this point? You know what? That stupid, giant, gerbil rat thing says 6 more weeks of winter. You know what else it probably said? Is the Browns organization is just a straight up giant dumpster fire clown show. And it continues to be that way this offseason. And you know what? It keeps adding wood to the fire, and it just keep hiring more clowns, and they got another clown car. And here we are with the Browns organization pushing out its best player because they can't pull their heads out of their ass and see the fucking daylight. But here we are. Myles Garrett wants to trade, and who knows what the future holds? And it's looking real grim right now. And if you're a fan, man, and you're on the ledge, we'll hold hands and join together. Let's jump. All right, guys, let's get into it. Woof, woof.
Oh boy, jeez.
Brad's always good for a voicemail.
I will say I disagree with one thing he said. I don't think the Browns are pushing him out. Maybe he thinks that because of their decision making and stuff like that. But I don't think the Browns are pushing him out. I think Myles is kind of forcing him his way out. Which I mean, we've kind of talked about that, the letter, all that stuff. But
man, a lot of people are blaming Andrew Berry. Like his seat is so hot from our fan base right now. I mean, if I'm Myles Garrett, I get the part where Brad's saying the hopeless part. Like, I mean, if you take a look, I think I put it on every single social thing. Right now, you have no quarterbacks on the roster. You don't have running backs on the roster. You don't have cap space. We don't even know what's going to happen with JOK. Those are some pretty big things, guys. Yeah. And now we're hearing that Bitonio's mulling retirement. Like, I don't know what to do right now or think what to think, because I'm like, I try to be as upbeat as possible. I know we got some guys on our team. Our receivers are looking good, but I mean, you might just have to unload them to get some assets to fill all these holes. Or is it just too much doom and gloom that I'm buying into on the internet?
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Before I give you, I jotted some things down. Why don't we play the other voicemail real quick, and then we'll keep going.
What's up, Browns Nation, Browns fans, Dog Pound, Mick from San Diego. Yep, reacting to this Myles Garrett requesting a trade. Yeah, I don't think I have enough time with only a minute and a half to discuss, talk about it. But I think that's a huge signal. If your best player, Hall of Famer, guy that said that he would, stick around if we had a plan, says, after all that, hey, I want out. I don't think draft picks, trades, or anything like that's gonna change what we got. I think we're in the dark years for 5-ish years. Yeah, I don't know. Favorite player since forever. Honestly, I think it's a culture thing now, that we need to do a huge culture shift. And everyone wants to go back to, Baker Mayfield's, Jarvis Landry, but those were culture guys, sadly, that we forced them out, or we can have our own opinions on that. But I think we need to go back to nitty gritty, dog pound, not dog water like we are right now. And I'm excited to see what we can do. But yeah, we'll see. Go Browns. Hoo-hoo.
So that's kind of like the way he's talking is kind of like, that was my immediate reaction. Just like, I just felt like down and depressed about it. I will say so I jotted some things down, some things I talked about with people at work. And Kenny, you kind of talked about this, all these holes. Some people are saying this is the rebuild. You have to tear it all down now. It may be, I don't know, maybe I'm weirdly optimistic, but I can make the argument, and I'll probably get shit on for this, but Myles did the Browns a favor if we actually do trade him, because I talked about it all offseason was I don't want to trade Myles, but if somebody offers me an insane trade, you have to seriously consider it, because what I've said is that having just Myles doesn't equate to wins. And it's not just that's not like a knock on Myles. Just having Micah Parsons doesn't equate to wins. Just having TJ Watt doesn't equate to wins. Having a premier edge rusher is a great piece if you have the other most important piece in place.
Right.
And that's the quarterback position. Yep. So that's why. But the organization could never come out and say, yeah, we're thinking about trading Myles Garrett. Like if Myles came out and said, I 100% want to be here, I'm never leaving. It doesn't matter if we go 0-16 the rest of my career, I will die in brown and orange and you'll bury me in my jersey. The Browns could never come out and say they're considering trading him. Now they can go shop a top, arguably the best defensive player in football to make a killing to turn this from. I don't think it needs to be a rebuild. Like you said, there's no running backs and there's no quarterback. We have 5 picks in the top 100. We're going to get money back from the Deshaun thing with insurance and all that good stuff. That salary cap is going to go up. We have options. You go and you add Kirk Cousins, which I think a lot of people believe the Browns have a very good shot of landing in free agency. And some people are like, if you're pinning all your hopes and dreams on Kirk Cousins, Kirk Cousins would be the best quarterback we've had on our team in 30 years. Okay, if he's healthy. So if you put him on this team and you go and you sign a free agent running back and you draft a running back and you bring Joel Bitonio back, all of a sudden your offense looks pretty competent. Like we've talked about this at length. The offensive line is better than they performed last year when you put them in a system that plays to their strengths. So I don't think we need 5 new offensive linemen. We need a tackle. And by all accounts, it's going to be DeJuan Jones. So maybe we have 5. We're going to have 5 offensive linemen that have a lot of playing experience together. We'll have a quarterback who's a leader, who's good in the locker room, hopefully, and who knows the system and the verbiage and can get the ball to these guys. We just watched Jerry Jeudy finish top, 5 in the league, and he played with just absolute garbage at quarterback all season. So I just don't think because trading Myles just means wave the white flag. Myles is under 500 in his career. If having just Myles meant you won football games, we wouldn't be in the position that he would be asking for a trade in the first place. We'd be winning all these football games. If having the best edge rusher in football meant you were going to win, the Browns would be Super Bowl contenders every single year since he's been drafted. That's just not the way it works. So I don't want to get rid of and I don't want to trade Myles Garrett, but I think this opens the door for the organization to capitalize on it and add a ton of talent to the team in a bunch of different positions. I think having 2 good edge rushers with a top 12 quarterback is more valuable than having the number 1 edge rusher. That the 2 good edge rushers and the solid quarterback is going to win you more games than no quarterback and no other edge rusher and just having 1 premier edge rusher. That 1 edge rusher doesn't win you football games. So I don't know. Like I'm sad and depressed, but I do think the Browns have plenty of options if they do decide to trade him. I'm still in denial, but I'm not 100% convinced he gets traded in the first place. He's got, you said, he's got 2 years left on his deal and we can franchise tag him. He's not going to sit for the next 4 years. So
the problem
he can play hardball.
The problem too with Myles is the contract. The contract, we've restructured it so many damn times. If I think it's 35 or 36 in cap hits if we do trade him. And I read an article and I wish I remembered who wrote it, but they said there was some type of deal where he would have to get a contract done, like an extension with the Browns, just for us to trade him, and it would make sense. And even then, let's say we take a 35 hit on the cap. Well, now we have a I know we're getting money back and stuff like that, but we have a crap ton of money into guys that aren't even on the team or not playing. And it's just, but I do get your point though. I went through that same phase. I went through the sadness, the happiness, but you know, all that. My biggest thing was I was like, yeah, there's a real opportunity that you could fleece somebody. You know what I mean? If you could find somebody desperate enough, you know, if you could find a Cleveland Browns and a Deshaun Watson search, you can get a team with a Myles Garrett search, you know.
You know what it reminds me of? Not to cut you off, just before I lose my train of thought.
Hey, Josh is waving. Yep.
I just want to tell you guys real quick the dead cap stuff. Like if you go to over the cap and move to post June 1st, so if they designated him as like a post June 1st trade or whatever, that dead cap goes down to just under 15 million with a savings of 5. So it's much more manageable.
Okay.
But you'd want to know your trade assets now, though.
Now, right?
So
before the
that's whole
draft.
thing,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. And Kenny, you're older than me, so you remember this better. But the Cowboys traded. Who was the running back they traded?
Herschel.
They traded Herschel Walker to the Vikings, and they got man. They've got so many picks. They literally won. What was it? 3 Super Bowls because of that trade. You know,
and when they traded Herschel Walker. And again, no team's going to give us as much as what they got back, obviously. But it reminds me of that situation where the fan base and everybody's going, how could you trade Herschel Walker? And then
it was huge.
And then he left. But you were able to make a better team by using those pieces, and then they went on and won 3 Super Bowls. So again, I don't want anybody watching to misconstrue this where I'm like pounding the drum saying we should trade Myles Garrett. I want them to work it out, and I want him to still be on our team. I'm just saying if they can't work it out, it does not have to be doom and gloom. Now, the big part of this is if you are going to trade him, you have to execute the trade well. You have to get back the pieces, and then those pieces you have to turn them into like they have to work.
Yeah, you have to hit your draft picks badly.
You have to hit your draft picks, or if we get any players in the return, you have to develop them and put them into your system. Like they have to fit. That is the other part of this equation. If Dallas would have traded Herschel Walker for all that capital and then missed on 80% of their picks and didn't win the Super Bowl, everybody would be calling them idiots for trading Herschel Walker. The fact of the matter is they traded him, got all that, hit on all that stuff, and then won 3 Super Bowls. So I just think it doesn't need to be doom and gloom. Again, don't take it out of context. I'm not saying go trade Myles. I'm happy that he once traded. I'm saying it doesn't have to be the end of the world if we do end up trading him.
Let me ask. Oh, go ahead, Kenny.
I was going to say it is a win-win for the Browns. And what I mean by that is like Myles Garrett is at the top of his game right now, right? The other thing is he's asking to be traded. He's actually bailing this head office out, right? So if they trade him, the fans are on his side. They're not on the other guy's side, right? And with that being said, it's like you're saying, the biggest thing about this is the Browns aren't looking good next year. We all know that. They have to try harder now. There's going to be more of a plan to keep him on the team. So it could be something along the lines of like, hey, we'll draft Carter and pair him with you. We'll restructure you. We're going to get Kirk Cousins in. These are the 3 options if we don't get him. And like, we're going to try that much harder because right now it just doesn't seem like there's a plan at all. So yes, it's a win. If they trade him, we get more assets in. Fantastic. If we can't trade him, which I don't think we can because of 35 million, then there's going to be a way better plan for us and Myles Garrett.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that. I do genuinely agree with that. What I was going to ask you guys is I think me and Blake, we joked around about it last week that we were like, man, did that feel like an asking price? Like he was like, I'm not trading him for 2 firsts. And I was like, bro, that feels like a price tag to me. Like you don't just randomly, throw 2 firsts out there, or you just say, hey, I'm not trading him, which he went on to say. And, I think Myles took that the wrong way. But do you think that was the price tag? Like he's saying, hey, it's going to take 2 firsts. Because I've heard other stuff too saying a first and a player. I think from Diana Rossini.
That's what Khalil Mack was, right? Like he not 3 first rounders, or
he got
2.
He got 2 firsts. They gave up. So it was Vegas. I've heard a bunch of people talking about this today. It was Vegas and it was Chicago. Chicago gave up 2 firsts, and I want to say maybe a 3rd and like a 6 or something like that. And Chicago got Khalil Mack a second, and then it was like a conditionary, like fourth or fifth or something like that.
I've heard everything. Like, well, first of all, he's more valuable to Browns fans than he is to other people. So we're saying it's got to start at 2 first-rounders at least. Plus, we better be getting back. We're getting 2 first-rounders, Patrick Mahomes. The Bills have to throw in Josh Allen. We're getting Saquon Barkley.
This is an NBA trade?
Yes,
Jeez.
That's the way the Browns fans are talking. And then I've heard everything from, like you said, where it's going to be a first and maybe a player to go with it because he is 29, going to be going on 30 at some point. I think it's more than a first, but I also think some Browns fans I've seen somewhere it's like, let's get, it was, I forget what team we traded with. It was this draft and we got like their first, second, third, fourth, and fifth round picks plus a player. And I'm like, that's not happening. Like that's not happening.
Was that the Hendon Hooker one? I saw the I saw one. Yeah.
I've seen a couple of those.
After I overcame the shock, I started thinking of what are other teams that are picking towards the top of this draft still, and what other teams that are picking towards the top of this draft that have a quarterback, maybe an extra quarterback, and that's what it took me to New England. I threw it out there. I said, what if we called New England? We have a relationship with Vrabel. He was just here for a year. We say, we'll give you Myles if you give us number 4, your first round pick next year, and Joe Milton. And so a lot of people were like, okay with this. It's the internet. So I was weird that a lot of people agreed and thought it was good. But and then the people who the dissenters, I will call them, said Joe Milton sucks. We don't want Joe Milton. And what my thought is, I'm not saying Joe Milton is I'm giving him the keys to the car. I'm saying he's a guy that has upside and potential possibly. I'm still drafting a quarterback at 2, but now you have that 4th round draft pick. You can now maybe you take Travis Hunter. Maybe you take McMillan from Arizona to go with your 2 project quarterbacks. I'd still sign a vet. I would go Kirk Cousins. I'd have Joe Milton draft a quarterback at 2, take a wide receiver at 4, maybe take TreVeyon Henderson in the first pick in the 2nd round. All of a sudden your offense is looking a lot better. And then if you got all 3 of these quarterbacks in your room this year and we still suck, and you're like, man, all 3 of these guys still suck. Well, one, everybody's probably getting fired. And now your new GM and coach next year will have 2 first-round draft picks in the next quarterback class that everybody says is better. So to me, like, that's a realistic trade option and it's an okay plan. But
I've seen a ton of those.
Yeah,
I've seen a ton of those.
Like Myles, but
yeah, I'd rather keep Myles. I listened to 2 former scouts, Daniel Jeremiah and Bucky Brooks, and basically what they said: if you trade Myles, you're basically saying we're rebuilding the next 3 years, and you're trading down on the 2nd pick, and you're just acquiring assets. No matter how you spin it, no matter how you do it, you got to make sure that you hit on a quarterback. But with trading Myles, trading down from 2, as much as the capital that you can gain, then you basically take that and you just go get someone, and then you fill in the rest of the pieces along the way.
My only pushback to that is just like I said, I think just because you trade Myles doesn't mean you're planning on being bad for 3 years. I think you could trade Myles this year and be good next year. Like I was talking to a guy at work today, and my point was the Commanders had a top 4 or 5 defensive line in football. They had Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and they traded both of them. Their defense is now not good, and they just went to the NFC Championship.
Yeah.
And why? Because they got a quarterback. It all comes down to getting the quarterback. That's why I've said multiple times I was the front runner in this before everybody else online. So draft 2, add 2, add 10 quarterbacks to your training kit. Do whatever you have to do till you find the one that fits what you need to do and is going to be your guy. And that is the only thing that matters. So as much as I love Myles and all that, if we bring Myles back and he goes on to be defensive player of the year for the next 5 years in a row, if we don't have a quarterback, we won't be good in those 5 years. We'll be bad for 5 straight years. That's why I said he doesn't equate to wins. He's a piece that can help you get wins, but Myles Garrett by himself does not get you wins. You have to get the quarterback, which is why I think if you do trade him and trading him helps you get your quarterback, it's not a rebuild. It's you can just retool and you can be good the very next year. But the part of this is hitting on this stuff.
Yes.
That's the other piece. It doesn't. You can't just. It's not on paper. You have to go out and in practice and actually hit on them.
And
So
that's
which
where it
brings
comes.
me then-
That's where it comes to Barry, right? Because I mean, I don't feel like there's a lot of confidence based on his previous drafts and some of his free agent selections. And if you were to just combine one AI message and a summary of what the internet says, it would say we don't like Andrew Barry. I would say right now.
Here's my thing. In AB, first of all, Browns fans have loved him. Universally loved Andrew Barry until the Deshaun thing didn't work out. Before the Deshaun thing didn't work out, they still loved him. When we had just traded for him, before anything happened, Laser Eyes Andrew Barry was all over the internet. He swindled the Cowboys for Amari Cooper. He just got Jerry Jeudy and extended him before he had a breakout season. Now it looks like we got a number one receiver on a deal. Like Andrew Barry has done some really good things. Has he missed on picks? Yes, but I think I went through this in an episode. Everybody likes to bring up John Dorsey. John Dorsey was not good in free agency or the draft either. He hit on just a couple, and the difference was he had first round draft picks. Andrew Barry didn't. Now some of that is because of the trade. We talk about how much was Andrew Barry in on giving all that up for the trade, or was his boss like make it happen no matter what? But to see like guys like Nick Carnes, who I usually like on Twitter, but every tweet since this broke is just fire Andrew Barry right now, drag him out of the building. And I'm like, bro, I can go not that far back on your Twitter page and see how you have been slobbing all over Andrew Barry about how he's one of the best GMs in the league and all this stuff. Like, the fact of the matter is we made a move for Deshaun and it didn't work out. And now it seems like it's all falling apart. But guess who else wanted to move on from Baker? It was Myles Garrett. It was widely reported that the relationship between Myles Garrett and Baker by the end was strenuous at best, and Myles was ready for him to be gone and for them to upgrade at the quarterback position. That was wildly reported. You can go find that all over the internet. So the Browns did exactly what Myles wanted them to do. The player just didn't work out, and that's what sucks. And now we're dealing with the fallout of that. But it's not because the Browns didn't try to do what he wanted to do. Like they're spending an incredible amount of money. They're spending the most money of anybody in football. Like, so that's why, like, both sides, I'm like, I understand Myles wants to play for a good team. And at the same time, it's not like these guys are sitting on their hands, and it's not like everything they've done has been garbage. They've been the best coaching staff in front office we've had in 30 years. Like, they made a big swing and they missed, and now we got to clean up that mess. But they did a lot of good before the Deshaun trade, and even post Deshaun trade, getting Jerry Jeudy and that's another good move by Andrew Barry to get Jerry Jeudy. So he's on a hot seat. He's on a hot seat just like Kevin is, in terms of where I think if it looks like a dumpster fire this year, everybody will be gone. But am I singling out Andrew Barry and just like calling for his job every other tweet today because Myles Garrett requested trade? I'm not, because Andrew Barry has done good things and bad things, just like every single GM in the entire National Football League.
Dude, it 100% reminds me of when Baker left. Everybody wanted him gone, and all I've been doing is posting all day. Everyone's like, "Oh, here are the three guys that Barry wasted: Baker, Myles, and Chubb." Right? I was like, I was at the game in 2021 where every single fan booed Baker Mayfield off the field. They booed him. He was so mad that he didn't even do his presser after, right? And nobody remembers that, right? And this is exactly what's going on with Barry right now. That's exactly why I mentioned it. And he had all great points of what he's done well. Yes, they did swing to the fences. Yes, they missed hard on Deshaun Watson. But I mean, the guy can still get some talent in. And if you can get me or let me know of a GM that's hit on every single pick, every single free agent, it doesn't exist. It's just the Mahomes, the Allens, all those guys make up for those and make a GM look good.
I think part of the problem too is our fan base is just way more pissed off than we usually are at this point in the year.
Oh, man,
we haven't
angry.
even played the Super Bowl yet. You know what I mean? And we're already like, we're going to protest outside the stadium, all 11 of us, and we're not backing off and we're not backing down. Like, I'm like, holy crap. Like, this is, man, when I get excited about some news that's popping up on my phone, I get very nervous when it's Cleveland Brown stuff anymore, because it just is like one just tough tale after the other. And you know, I'm pretty much a very optimistic person about Cleveland sports, as you have to be. But woof, this is going to be a hell of an off season.
Dude, they're just so angry. Like, Josh played a clip of me just talking about wanting Junkins on the team. Yeah. And I just got this dude just is like, oh, well, just destroy another athlete's career. I'm like, listen, wow. Just because we're the Browns and we whiffed on Watson doesn't mean we're not going to draft good players. Like, come on, man. Like, stop being a bunch of crybabies. We just got to get into some kind of positivity. I know it sucks about Myles and he wants out. It's like Blake said, this thing happened with Njoku. They worked it out. I don't think he can go anywhere. I'm not going to say be positive, but if there's other players coming in, it's all right just to dream a little, guys. Dream a little bit about the Will Howards. Dream a little bit about the Shedeur Sanders. Dream a little bit about the Wards out there. You know, like it'll be fine.
I'll tell you what, if we trade Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb doesn't play anymore, I got to buy one of those guys' jerseys, because none of the jerseys that I have in my closet will be, I will still wear them, but they won't be people that play for the Cleveland Browns, which is,
that'd be a tough one for me too.
Yikes.
Let me just get Cavs jerseys, man.
I just can't do it. This might shock you, but you know, the sleeveless thing for me, not a good look. Very small frame.
There's two comments I want to address here. Skeet, which I do like the name.
Yeah.
The Haslams don't care about the fans. That's why we are giving up. I don't see how you can say that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Jimmy Haslam has been far from a perfect owner, but he's spending billions of dollars to try to put a winner on the field. Maybe it's billions of dollars and he's just throwing crap at the wall, seeing what sticks, and maybe it's a futile effort, but I don't think you can say that Jimmy Haslam doesn't care. If he didn't care, he'd be the Dolans. You know, we'd have a payroll of 80 million in a no salary cap league, even though we have a great front office and a great farm system. Jimmy Haslam cares. That's why there's been so many knee jerk reactions, because they hire somebody and it doesn't work out instantly. He's like, oh shit. And he fires them and he goes and hires the next guy he thinks is going to work out, because he cares. So I don't think you can say Jimmy Haslam doesn't care. Again, I don't think he's a perfect owner. I think he puts his fingers probably in too much football stuff and it gets us in trouble. But I think that a lot of that is he cares a lot, and he wants to have a say in what's going on. So it's not because he doesn't care. He just might not be that good. It's not because of lack of caring. And then another comment,
Jerry Jones doesn't care.
That's who the comp.
It's like saying Jerry Jones doesn't care.
Yep.
Well, he cares way too much. He's a pain in the ass. You know.
And then DeAndre Black says Browns fans have to take a look in the mirror and stop being so dramatic and triggered all the damn time. Thank you. I couldn't.
Whoa,
I'm not saying. Like, again, my initial reaction to Myles requesting a trade is I was just like, I wasn't even mad. Like you said, he just felt like I got dumped. I was like, man, I don't want to watch football games without Myles Garrett on the field for us. Like, just having Myles Garrett is a part of why I want to watch the Browns play. But if you step back and you look at things in context, a lot of things like I mentioned, the Browns have stuck with him a lot, and he's stuck with us. We've been good to him. He's been good to us. There's other things at play, and there's context to all these different things. He wanted Baker gone. The Browns did that. It's not all on the Browns of why, you know what I mean? Like, there's other mitigating circumstances and factors that have played into this, and I don't think we know all of them. And so just like, we got to just chill. And like all the doomsday people about how the Browns are going to be terrible for the next 10 years, maybe they will be, but it's not going to be because Myles Garrett requested a trade. Like, we can use that to our advantage, like I've already said on this episode, and turn it around, and we could be good next year. You have to get a quarterback. Skeet, yeah, I'm overreacting. Appreciate you talking me through it, Blake. You're welcome, Skeet. I appreciate I appreciate you being here and watching. But no, so I guess kind of talking on quarterback, you talked about the protest. If we get some more comments about Myles, well, obviously we'll keep talking about it. But so there was like I guess we'll call it a protest outside the stadium. I don't think many people showed up because, like, why do we have to protest things? Why do we have to have 0-16 parades? Like, can we just be normal? But they were chanting "Save us, Shador," and Shador said commented on it or reposted it or something about "Be legendary." It seems like there was a lot of talk in the early offseason that he didn't want to play in Cleveland. It seems like he'd be okay with being drafted by the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I would think so, especially with, watching the Senior Bowl. A lot of the quarterbacks did perform very well, but a lot of times you're still hearing a lot of this pundits saying this isn't a great draft class. Just the quarterback position itself will make some of these guys skyrocket up the charts. But I mean, I'm just not getting the warm and fuzzies. Like there's no, I think Adam Schefter put it best the other day. There's no universal player. You're drafting guys with specific skill sets, and you have to hone offense around them, right? Is it to say that they won't develop into all-stars? That's not it. It's just based on where they are versus other classes. They're not there. So, I mean, a lot of people, this is where a lot of the inconsistencies are coming on, where people are feeling not as great. And I just think that, I don't know, it's just a tough situation. But I don't know. Ultimately, with Myles Garrett, I'll get into that. My thoughts on that guy, I mean, out of all the guys that demanded a trade request in the last decade, how many did actually it come to fruition? Deshaun, and can you think of anybody else? It doesn't happen very often, especially when the other team's got to pay a ton of money. And just with the way things are and the way that the Browns would have to trade him, I just don't see it happening. That's where we got to kind of chill out. Like we said, I hate to say it, like we basically said already, like we own him for 4 years. Do we want to be like that? Do we really need to be petty about it? I don't think so, but hopefully these guys can just talk it out and figure it out. It's not like the NBA. I mean, the NBA seems to be able to have players, and it's a player-run league, but I just don't see a lot of guys, even like Aaron Rodgers, for example. He really wanted out of Green Bay. It took a bit to get him out, Look at Ayuk. Look at Debo last year. The 49ers had to deal with it two times.
Yeah.
And it's not fun. It's not easy. Clearly Myles is in a good headspace where he feels like they're on the right path. And this is what it is, because I don't feel like we're going to get rid of him just based on the cap numbers.
I think there's a better chance that not Myles is still on the Browns next season. Mm-hmm. At least that's where I stand right now, 24 hours from hearing about the request. Going back to the Shador thing a little bit in the quarterback situation, I hate the talk of there's no universal number one quarterback, when the last guy who was looked at that was Trevor Lawrence. Okay. And we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence isn't that guy. And guys who look like projects, Josh Allen, is seen as a league MVP candidate. Lamar Jackson is about to be a 3-time MVP.
Yep.
Okay. So it's all, I said this before, it's all about the fit. And then that's why you got to put a ton of research into the character of the player. Are they going to be the guys who are first in, last out? Are they going to put in the work needed to make the transition? Can they process information? We had the receiver on here who was on the Browns training camp roster for a little bit. I can't remember his name. And he said 95% of the game at this level is mental. Everybody out here is a supreme athlete. Everybody out here can throw. There's some people who are faster and some people who can throw further and faster and harder, but everybody is good at throwing. Everybody is fast. It's mental. It's how can you process information. Two of the best quarterbacks of all time are two of the worst athletes to ever play football. Peyton Manning and Tom Brady ran the 40 in a week. So it's about how quickly you can process information, if you can distribute the ball to your playmakers on time, on target. I know Josh posted a video of Cam and Jador working out a little bit together, and they were kind of like chopping over a bag and throwing to a receiver on each side of them. And Cam Ward clearly has the stronger arm in that video, but Shador to me was 1,000,000% more accurate. Like first of all, his release was quicker than I thought. Like it's not like he doesn't have a long release. This ball still comes out, and every throw is just right here, here. Cam, they got to reach a little bit here. It's right here every time. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick. I'll do a video on Shador because I've been watching a lot of tape while I'm rocking the baby and all that stuff. But I've noticed that Shador Sanders can drop passes in that intermediate zone like it's beautiful. I mean, over top of linebackers, right in front of safeties, perfectly. It's such a touch pass that I'm kind of getting blown away watching him do that over and over. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but he can make those touch throws. And with the two high safety and everything in the NFL, that the intermediate areas where you got to live, you got to be able to slay it in there. And I think he can.
No, that's a big part of his game. And I mean, if you look at the Browns, and I said it in the previous episode on my own, they're set up for a Shador Sanders draft. Like, I mean, you have our new quarterback coach Musgrave. He's buddies with Pat Shurmur. Pat Shurmur coaches him right now. That's huge. And Bill Musgrave also was with Pat Shurmur and Kevin Stefanski in Minnesota. They coached together in 2017. And so I think that's just screaming to connect the dots. That doesn't always happen. And, someone could trade up above us, but I mean, it looks good to want to draft him.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing too. We just talked about this at the beginning. Even if we draft Shador at 2, unless he comes into training camp and he's just blowing people away in terms of how good he is, like, holy crap, this guy's even better than we thought he could be. I don't want him to see the field this year outside of the preseason. You know what I mean? Like,
agree.
I still want to, like, let's give him the time to develop. Let's give him the time to learn and to build on those traits. And then you pick 2 guys. Pick another one late. How late will some of these guys go? Will Will Howard be there a little bit later? I really want Travion Henderson. I think if we want him now, we're going to have to take him at 34? Right. Our first pick in the second round. I want to add as much offensive talent. To the people saying if Myles is leaving, you got to go get Carter now. Why? We just had the best pass rusher on the planet and couldn't win. So we're going to replace him with a rookie? No, you got to go get offense. So I'm okay with, I am on board with the Shador, and then still getting a bridge quarterback so he can sit for a season or 2.
And the draft this year for running backs is crazy. It's crazy good.
Yes.
So if we don't get Henderson, which, I mean, as Buckeye fans, we like the vision, the explosiveness. The kid's a stud, but man, there's going to be a lot of talent on the board.
I know we have a voicemail about Henderson, don't we, Josh? Do you want to play it real quick?
What's up, Dawgs podcast? So word's out that Quinshon Judkins is going to be entering the draft this year. Yeah. So with that being said, I know Blake's guy has been Travion Hendrickson. Are we still high on him as being the running back we would want from Ohio State, or does this now change things for anybody?
I'll go for Junkins, but you go first on Henderson.
So I went Travion Henderson. Obviously, I think I've said it on the show. I draft both of them if you had the opportunity. I went Henderson because I think he's more explosive. I think out of the backfield, like as a receiver, I think he can be a lot of what Jahmyr Gibbs is. I saw somebody say he's a bigger Devon Achane from Miami in terms of pass catching and his top end speed. Another huge thing about Travion Henderson is his pass blocking. His pass blocking is incredible for a running back. And that you always hear, if you want to be a 3-down back in the NFL, you got to be able to pass protect. And so now the biggest thing on him is his injury history. And I used to be out on him a little bit. I think I even texted Josh like 3/4 the way through the Buckeye season. It was like, man, if Travion Henderson didn't have his injury history, I'd want him to be on the Browns. And then as the season just kept going and going, and then through the playoffs and everything, I was like, he's the guy I want. Like, this guy is so good. I think you pair him with a guy and they split carries, or it's 75-25, 70-30, and and you get your bruiser in there. I think Travion Henderson can give you a lot of what A-Chain and Jahmyr Gibbs do. His explosiveness is insane. And I thought as a running back, maybe we'd be able to snag him in the third. And then Todd McShay puts out a video like, this guy might go in the first. And I was like, oh, damn it.
Thanks, Todd.
I was hoping I was keeping him a secret. But no, so obviously I wouldn't be, if we ended up with Judkins instead of Henderson, I wouldn't be mad. But if they're both on the board and we took Judkins, I'd be like, okay, guys, why did we not take Henderson?
Yeah, Judkins to me is the guy to go for, and it's just because we run a zone scheme. He seems to be perfect for that exact scheme. He's got the patience, he's got the vision. I like the fact with that he's got quick feet. He's got the ability to make defenders miss in tight spaces. Josh showed a great clip of him running the ball. It's everything you want to see. He can forearm shiver. He can, he's explosive, create yards after the catch. Even I think he's like Dalvin Cook, and a combination of that with a Kareem Hunt. The Kareem Hunt part it got to me when I watched him against Texas, the game before. He was unreal. Oh no, it was Texas. He was blocking guys. He was doing whatever he could to get Henderson in the end zone, and then I still think he put one in. And I almost can see him like getting in the end zone like Kareem, doing push-ups and going, yeah, see, another one's coming your way, boys. And I just love his passion.
What I remember from that Texas game was Travion Henderson taking it 72 to the house. And then I remember from that other game where Quinshon Judkins got caught from behind. So that's what's telling me to go with Travion Henderson. No, like I said, I'm high on both. I just think I think Quinshon Judkins is like very good, could be a very good 3-down running back. And I think Travion Henderson could be a special running back. The biggest thing that scares me is just the injury history.
That's where I'm holding off. Is the injuries. He's just got more poundage. He's a little bit bigger. Judkins.
What about you, Justin? Any preference?
Man, it's a deep running back class. Don't get me wrong, I love Ohio State, but I don't really care. Honestly, you know what I mean? Like, it's a stupid good running back class. There's guys everywhere.
Hey, man, go ahead.
Are you saying twist my arm and make me pick somebody? Okay.
I was just going to say, if you end up having to take Henderson at 34 and you want to snag another one, there's two.
There's guys.
There'll be the guy from Iowa, the dude from was it North Carolina or was it?
Are you talking about Caleb
Miami?
Johnson?
Like there's other, I think you could potentially snag 2 running backs. I don't.
Scadabo's
I would be fine with the Browns going offense every single pick.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Every single pick.
Sure.
Especially if Myles is still on this team. If Myles is still on this team, I'm definitely going offense every single pick. So
I like RJ Harvey, man. He is literally like a mini Genty. He catches the ball. He's short. He's squatty. He can pop out of little holes, big holes. He can be unreal, I think. And he's high on my list. Pair with one of the 2 Ohio State running backs.
All right. Well, is there anything else on Myles we want to touch on before we wrap this up? Anybody got anything else to add? Josh, do you want to say anything off camera? Give us your 2 thoughts real quick.
Oh, just based on what you guys have been talking about, I just want to remind everybody that the positions that the Browns really need to fill, those are the positions that are really deep in this class. Like Justin was saying, running back. I mean, man, there are so many running backs in this class. It's unbelievable. I mean, I would like to use 34 on a top one, but we don't have to. We really don't. Right. Edge rusher, offensive tackle, like tight end, these are the positions that are very deep in this class based on everything I'm reading and listening to. The only one that's not deep that we desperately need is quarterback.
Yeah. I'm all for, I guess, real quick before we wrap up, we talked about Shedeur. Not only do I think talent-wise, I think we can develop him into a good quarterback in a Kevin Stefanski offense with, college tendencies with Tommy Rees and that kind of stuff. And we got him a QB coach who is familiar with the guy who's been coaching him and all the stuff that kind of points towards Shedeur. Gage Tucker's actually talked about this a lot. If there's one quarterback in this draft that has dealt with pressure his entire life, it's Shedeur Sanders. I mean, he's the son of prime, and he goes to a 1-win Jackson State team, turns that program around, goes to Colorado's the worst big time college football program in the country. I mean, they were awful. And I'm not saying that he got him to like national championship contender, but he's leaving Colorado in a way better place. They won 10 games, and everybody wanted to beat him and kill him. And I know he didn't, he had against some of the elite competition. There could be struggles, but he was playing against that elite competition with not elite talent around him outside of Travis Hunter. So, and the guy did it while everybody wants to beat him. He's taking everybody's best shot. His dad's now his college coach. His dad's, one of the loudest guys in the history of the game who walks the walk and talks the talk. And he's done it all while he's had good grades. He hasn't gotten any kind of trouble. He's always, you know what I mean? He is built to be the face of a franchise, in my opinion, in terms of being able to shoulder that kind of burden.
Yeah. And let me just say real quick, if the Titans shock everybody, which I think right now would be kind of a shock, and they go Shedeur first, Cam Ward, to me, is a great pick there too, because just even the mental processing thing and the drive, determination, everybody liked the story of Baker Mayfield, how he walked on everywhere he went and became the starter, and he had that chip on his shoulder, and he was the guy, and he was going to prove it. Cam Ward was a 0-star recruit who had to go to Incarnate Word for 2 years to try to prove himself enough to transfer to a big college. And then he got over to Washington State to be able to get to Miami, where he was then a Heisman freaking finalist. I mean, the guy works his ass off at every level. And everything I've listened to about Cam Ward, coaches are like, this guy he can learn a new offense and he will master it. And then he can go out there and execute. So I think both these guys are good NFL prospects.
Ward seems super intense, man.
Yeah.
All right. Last thing, my thoughts on Myles. If you don't want to be here, peace, Jack. I am the same way in terms of, but I'm it's Myles, so I'm respectfully saying it, and I'm not going to dog him if he wants to go to another team and try to compete for a Super Bowl. We all said the same thing about Joe Thomas. If we wouldn't have blamed him if he would have left and tried to go play for a winner at the end. But at the end of the day, I'm a bigger Browns fan than I am a Myles fan, and whether they have deserved my fandom like that or not, they have it. And I'm going to root for the Browns more than I'm going to root for any one player. So if I'm going to root for the Browns and who's in that building. And if it's Myles is there, that's awesome. I want him to be there. But if he's not, then, I'll be like, oh, cool. I'll watch Myles play today, but I want the Browns to win. I'm a Browns fan. So I feel the same way. But all right. Well, I think that was, I think we got it all out. Let us know what you guys think. Obviously, this is an extremely fluid situation. I think Josh said trades can't even happen for another month. So it's going to be a lot of speculation, a lot of doom and gloom. Every Browns radio network, every show, it's going to be dark. Honestly, it's going to be annoying if we're being honest. So, but if, let us know what you guys think. The trade request, or, do you think, are you mad at him, or is it okay that he wants to go play for a different organization after giving us all this time? Let us know what you guys think about some of the QB prospects. And, we touched on running back. If there's anybody you guys like, let us know in the comments. Again, before we get out of here, remember, if you want to join the Dog Pack, guys, head to jointhedawgs.com. Leave us your voicemails. Just head to thedawgspodcast.com. Tap leave voicemail in the drop-down menu, and you can find us on all the social media pages. Just search at the Dawgs Podcast. Again, we appreciate you guys being here, and we'll see you guys probably sometime later this week.